do that.
Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, March 26, 2018. It's 6:30 p.m. It's time for the Selectmen meeting. The first order of business, as always, we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 2 is the acceptance of minutes. I have the minutes of March 12, 2018. Mr. Siganovich.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes of March 12th, 2018.
Motion by Mr. Siganovich, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, 4-0. Mr. Joseph is excused for the evening, by the way.
Quite magnanimous of you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, there you go. Item 3, we have some appointments. Tonight, we have 3A, Inspector of Animals and Barn Inspector. Jen Fitzgerald is not here. She wants to be appointed with the term to expire April 30th of 2019.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rudis, seconded by Mr. Sullivan. Discussion? Greg, everything all, she already had that, right?
She's a reappointment,
Right, got it.
and she's done a fine job.
Yep, yes, she has. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Jen. And then we have the Economic Development Committee, has some alternates. Come on up, John. Brian Lebrecq with the term to expire 6/30 of 2020, and Russell Giglio with the term to expire 6/30 of 2020. Hi, John.
Yeah, hi. This is to appoint the two alternates, which was approved by a town meeting, I think it was last year. Technically, with the new bylaw, I think it's a 3-year appointment as an alternate, and if one of our members, one of our full members steps down, then the appropriate board would then have to appoint them as well. So I think the Board of Selectmen have 4, and then the Planning Board, I think, have 3. But regardless, I thought it was a great opportunity to introduce them and have your
Absolutely.
support. Russ, this is Brian.
Brian.
Brian?
Hello.
Russ is, he works for CarMax at, I think, the Westboro area, so sometimes with the commute and things like that. So, but I'll introduce Brian Lebrecq to you. He's looking to be an alternate and possibly a full-time member.
Okay. Brian.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Want to introduce yourself and tell us why you're here and why you want to help out, all that good stuff?
Well, my name's Brian Lebrecq. I live on 120 Pierpont Road here in Dudley, so right on the pond. I mean, I've been here. I moved here last Memorial Day weekend. I was 18 years in Oxford. I'm from Putnam, Connecticut, so I'm a local guy. You know, I've been coming through Dudley. I'm seeing some nice development activities going on. You know, I'm a past employee. I've worked at Gentex. I graduated from Nichols, so I do have some local interest. And my daughter still goes to Oxford. My son goes to Shepherd Hill. So I have 2 children. They're both teens. And, you know, kids are getting older, and I get a little bit of time on my hands. And I'm a business guy, so you know, I think that from an economic development standpoint, I think I can bring some value to the town, and I saw you guys were looking for some volunteers, so you know, John reached out to me. There's also, I understand, there's a need on the finance committee, so I'll throw my hat in that ring as well if you guys you know, feel there's some need there as well. So that's a little bit about me, and you know, anything else you want to know, just ask.
Okay. Board members?
Just thank him for stepping forward, Mr. Chair. Nice to see these committees getting their vacancies taken care of, and hopefully no problem with quorum issues like we had in the past with some boards.
Carrie will want to make this nomination of a Nichols alum.
Nichols alum, I know, but
Bison to bison.
Fellow Nichols alum.
That's I forgot a secret handshake like.
Yeah.
If there is, I'm in the dark. I don't know. I'd like to make a motion. Now, before I do, that's a 3-year appointment?
Yeah, this is a 3-year as an alternate. And the way it's set up is we were having issues with quorums. So if one of our full members doesn't show up, they become a voting member during that meeting. And then if one of our members steps down mid-year or resigns before their term, the alternate would then go into that position. At that point, for the permanent appointment, you have to come back as well. Right now, it's my understanding we have 4 individuals whose terms expire the end of May. And that's why we're kind of reaching out real quick just to see. One has stated that they will not be seeking reappointment. I think that's Joanne. Todd, who was appointed with me 2 years ago, he is seeking reappointment. And then we have 2 members I still have to get an answer what's their intention. So regardless, having these 2 will at least be able to backfill
That's great, John.
if something happens.
Effective today?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we appoint Brian LeBrecq and Russell Gilio to alternates on the Economic Development Committee, effective today, March 26, 2018, with a term to expire March 25th, 2021.
Second. 2020.
3
6:30.
years.
Oh, 18,
Yeah,
19,
the
20.
alternate's a 3-year position.
Okay, so that's, okay, so the agenda
2020,
says
I'm
this.
sorry, I added 3 to 18, and that's how I got 21.
But is it from today's date or if the calendar, or the fiscal year date?
Would be from today.
Okay,
From
right.
18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
The term to expire June 30th, is that what we're saying?
Yes.
No, Kerry said
Okay,
March 31st.
Because a 3-year appointment, that would be
I got you.
3 months over. So a
Second.
term to expire March 25th, 2020.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sigenovich, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Discussion? Yes, Brian, thanks for coming forward. We all love, and under the strong tutelage and guidance of John, of that, running that group, that it's good.
Yep.
So,
Very good.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anything else, guys? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, guys.
You want to grab them for your finance committee now, too?
Yeah, well, yeah, we
Don't let
got
them go.
that on the agenda. That's
Yeah, I
definitely.
guess- See what we got for appointments there.
I don't know, I guess see what we have
Moderator
left on
appointments
that.
and-
We should look, yeah, reach out to Michelle one day. She kind of keeps track of like what we have open. And, actually, I will see the chairman of the FAA tomorrow night, so I will ask him.
All right.
Okay?
Very good.
Thank you
sir.
so much.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
All right. Item 4, public comments. Is there anybody here in the audience who'd like to speak on something that's not on tonight's agenda? Mr. Canty, anything? No? Superintendent Desto, anything you want to talk about that's not on tonight's agenda? Please?
I always have something.
All right.
No, really, I just came in case there were any questions relative to the special election, which is a week from tomorrow. Wanted to make sure that we had somebody here who's from the inside to be able to answer them if necessary. It looks like that's not going to be necessary. So I'll just take the opportunity to remind all our citizens to be checking social media, the district website, frequently. Every day we're updating it with new information relative to our district's budget. And I'll take the opportunity to thank you guys once again for your support of this on behalf of the school committee.
Mr. Chair, before he steps down,
Mr. Sullivan?
unrelated issue, and I'm sure Jared's going to touch on it. I just want to thank Mr. Desto with his guidance in college prep offices there. They did a nice college fair, and I saw you there.
Yep.
I know at one time they used to do them, then they stopped for a few years and it picked up again. And I can speak personally, my daughter picked up a lot of good information, and it was, I think, fairly well attended. And just want to thank the schools for helping the kids make their next step.
We got a bunch of good stuff, too. It's
Yep.
good.
A lot of schools there from everywhere.
Yep.
Very impressed.
Greg?
I just wanted to make a comment while Superintendent Desto was here, thank him for his efforts, but also point out the fact that although the override is geared toward the schools, it does tremendously assist the town. The town is faced with the required minimum funding contribution, which utilizes about 4/5 of every available dollar that we have. Those are monies that we will not have to fund municipal services, police, fire, highway, and municipal operations in general. So people need to be aware of the fact that they may be going out and voting for the schools, but there's a very key piece that also helps the town tremendously. Thank you.
Okay. And Superintendent, we had some community outreach meetings in Dudley and Charlton. How did those go?
Well, very disappointingly in Dudley, to be honest. Now, I don't know if that's, it's hard to know how to read it, but we only had 10 citizens there at the public forum. I am going to make myself available again this Thursday night in Dudley, at Dudley Middle School, in a little bit less formal way, but I'm going to be there. I'll be there for a couple of hours, 6 to 8. If people want to come out, I'll have a presentation prepared, but if they just rather ask me questions, then I'll be available to them for that. And we're going to try a few different methods of notification to see if we can stir up a little bit more support.
Okay.
It is our intention to bring out any type of person, however their view is on this override election, whether they are completely against it, to be able to tell us that, tell us why, and have us respond to that, whether they're on the fence and we get an opportunity to try to explain to them, as Greg said, how this affects both the schools and the town, and certainly we want our supporters there as well, so that that can spread.
Right.
So, again, Thursday night at Dudley Middle School, 6 p.m. I'll be there, I'll be available, and hopefully this time more people will come out and more people will go to the polls informed on Tuesday.
Greg, can we put that out somewhere?
We can put it on our social media sites, and I'm sure Greg will have it out there and we'll be happy to
I will.
take his.
Cable, do we have that on the cable channel and everything?
I don't have it on there as of now.
Yeah, let's get that in every manner possible so people can say that they had the opportunity to learn more.
We've also, for those who are more visual learners like I was in high school, if you talked at me, I didn't always get it, but if you showed me, I could. We've made a video that we're still editing, but that should be ready to go out sometime tomorrow. And essentially, it's like a mock press conference where I'm being asked questions about the budget and, you know, pretending I'm somebody important and answering those questions. And it came out pretty good. So I think people might enjoy that if they prefer that mode of communication.
That's a great idea. And we can share it on social media as well.
Yep.
I think people will share it a lot.
A week and a day.
Some of the pushback I've been hearing, Mr. Chairman, is that the law requires for an override that only for 2 years it goes towards the purpose there was an override, and then after that it can be absorbed into the regular town budget. And, of course, I push back and say, short of Amazon setting up their headquarters here in Dudley, there's really not a scenario where the money wouldn't be applied to the school budget, and I was hoping maybe, Greg, you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. The board has the executive control to recommend a budget to town meeting. So the board would fulfill its obligations to direct those monies toward education and toward the schools. And we're professionals. We're here to enforce the votes that have been taken by the public, and we will do our due diligence to ensure that any vote that's taken at town meeting is complied with by this board.
Yep. And I had people tagging me on Facebook with that very question. Mr. Canty's daughter, actually, and I think that was the exact question. And I said, that's why we've had a pretty good, strong leadership on, at least on our board, to make sure that that would happen. Just so the money would go towards the purpose for which it was raised.
We had that question in Charlton
Yeah.
come up a number of times as well, and they've also said the same thing that you've said here tonight.
The other, actually, since we're talking about that, these are great questions. I mean, the other theme I saw, just kind of monitoring some of the Facebook, I mean, amazing how many people become experts in
Yes.
funding and taxes, and it's pretty amazing. And it's fine, at least people are participating, which I think is great. Engagement is good, but it's like, talk about the positions that you're hiring. Like, people say, well, why are they asking for money if we gotta hire more people?
Yeah.
Don't hire people. So
No, it's a good
how do we
question.
how do we address that?
So it's simply, really, I mean, first of all, when we had our meetings and had our discussions about what we wanted the number to be, the first thing was that it was going to be able to keep us whole for a handful of years, and then beyond that, that we'd be able to make at least some progress toward this. We have this gap in our district. Our district is very good, but if I could tell you honestly where we lag behind a little bit, it's when you take Jared here. He's going to graduate from high school. He's one of the best students that we have, and he's going to do really well, but the way he has been educated in high school is going to be almost completely different from the way he'll be educated in college, and it's completely different from the skills that he'll need when he enters the job force, with the exception of some of the working together and the social stuff that he's gotten. Because when you get out to that, everything now in the economy is internet. It's the Internet of Things, it's robotics, it's all that stuff. So we have a gap between what our kids are learning and what they are going to need for skills when they get out into the workforce. And that's something that, as a superintendent, I've been trying to address. So we had a lot of people, both on our school committee and in our community, who really felt like they would only support an override if there was going to be a little bit of progress toward that gap. So to talk specifically about the positions that are being added, the two that are probably more difficult to explain are the technology teacher integration positions. So that's like a 50-50 hybrid. It's a person who teaches computer classes and who also is in the regular classes helping those teachers integrate what Massachusetts calls the digital standards into the curriculum. So Jared's learning in a more modern way that's going to help him. He's going to be learning the material, but he's going to be learning it in a way that serves him better when he gets out into the job force. I want to add one more thing about those two positions. Those positions were at the time they were just technology teachers. They were not integrationists, but those were cut back in 2000, I think it was 2012. So it's really not an addition over the long haul. It's just helping those schools get back toward being whole. And it's at the youngest level, grades K to 2, and K to 4, I'm sorry. And our thought process there is that obviously if the kids are starting to learn the skills at the earlier age, they're going to have them more and more as they get older. The other two are, I don't think anybody would really argue with. We're trying to put adjustment counselors in the elementary schools, and that's we have a significant number of students who are struggling with mental and social challenges, and the earlier we can catch that and intervene and build strong children, then the better they're going to be right along. And the other piece of that is that it is a safety thing too, because when kids have these challenges that are untreated at an early age, you don't have to be an expert in psychology to know what happens as they grow up. So we're trying to, there is a long-term safety component to that too. Okay, I hope that answers your
No, it
question.
did, yeah, I was just trying to think of some of the themes that I saw. You know?
One of the themes I think Mr. Desto just addressed was, show me where the school's cutting, and then we'll figure out why they need to have increase their money from there. So you just spoke to something that was cut, and now you're looking to replace.
Right.
And I'd even venture to say that if you cut $4 million out of your budget, we'd still be paying essentially the same amount in excess of 2.5%. So one thing does not correlate with the other. This is required under the law. There's a catch-up amount and there's a minimum funding level. And that exceeds 2.5%, our ability to raise revenue and our ability to have growth. So an argument to say that the school needs to cut even further so that it can keep its doors open in the face of an override that seeks to keep the doors open is just, it's a non-starter as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Marcy, if I may, to that point, we essentially, every organization has their fixed cost increases every year. They sometimes vary, but ours seems to come out to about $1 million, $1.5 million every year. So if we have $1.5 million fixed cost increase, salaries, health insurance, transportation, so forth, and we're only getting about $75,000 a year from the state. $75,000 a year increase from the state is what we've been averaging. That $1,425,000 has got to come from our only other source of income, which is the towns. And that's way too much. And so I just feel like, as a member of the community, this has to happen, either, if not now, very soon.
Agreed.
Mr. Chair, not to go down the road, but it goes back to some of the things Mr. Desto touched on, and Jonathan, it's stuff they're mandated to do, mandated to provide. Transportation, for example, we don't get full reimbursement. The school formula is convoluted, we all know that. I mean, we've all seen the charts where so-called haves get more, and towns that we would consider have-nots, maybe on lower tax rate or funding issues, gets less because of that convoluted formula.
Yep.
We addressed, I think we were one of the first towns to try to address it a few years back with, through our state reps.
Yeah, we're doing that again,
Yeah,
trying
we're
to get that
trying.
restarted.
They just had some kind of, like a focus group that lasted about 9 months. Basically said the same thing. Yeah, it's a convoluted formula. Didn't make any changes.
It's gonna hurt people to do that, right? To help us, you gotta hurt someone else, and a lot of people aren't in the business of taking stuff away from people, right? So, that's what you get.
I think one of the challenges that makes Dudley unique, though, is we're up against our Prop 2.5 limit. A lot of the communities, the haves, they don't tax to their full Prop 2.5 capacity, which means they have the ability to raise additional money that, for political reasons, they decide they don't want to do. And a community like Dudley we're right up against 2.5. We don't have the ability to raise any more money.
And it goes back to the tax classification hearing every year. I mean, how long does it take the assessor to go through properties that are worth $4 million in town? Is it 1, 2?
Very few.
I mean, some of these other towns, a 93.7 breakdown of residential is a crusher. I mean, towns that are 75-25, 80-20, are a little better off with their tax base.
Mm-hmm.
So no easy answer.
It isn't. I mean, Dudley's a bargain, no matter how you slice it. We've always said it, we've done more with less, but again, when the state tells you this is coming and you have to do it, there's, you know, otherwise draconian things happen. I'm gonna tell you right now, I mean, I don't wanna be in that position.
I think Dudley will still continue to be a bargain with the question passing, too.
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, what's the numbers?
So we're at number 71 out of 71 lowest tax rates in central Massachusetts. You can't get much more of a bargain than 71 out of 71. The good news is that our schools certainly don't reflect dead last. I would even argue that they're at the top of the heap. Our crime rate certainly isn't high and doesn't reflect being last, 71 out of 71. You know, we have 24/7 paramedic coverage, we have full-time fire coverage, and the highway keeps up with it the best we can. So for the sake of staying 71 as opposed to 67, it's almost madness to jeopardize what we have right now, as far as I'm concerned.
You know, and again, they can come to the public hearing and get this information, but the numbers don't lie. Mr. Desto can probably rattle them off the top of his head with the lowest, like, two-town district tax rate, right? Our per pupil expenditures are at the bottom.
Yes,
If and when this question may pass, we're not gonna go, Jonathan said, we're not gonna go from 71 to number 2. We're gonna go from like 71 to 67, 65 maybe.
it's really, if I may, Mr. Marcy, it's really
Sure.
remarkable how well this town has been managed and how great of a place it is to live despite the tax rate. I know that that's an attraction. I just, you know, more as a citizen than as the superintendent, it's just simply getting to the point where, you know, you're not going to be able to continue to do it. You know, it's, at some point, something has to suffer, and it's either the schools or the towns or a little bit of both. So it worries me as somebody who loves this community, and obviously I have a horse in the race, being in charge of the school district, but Mr. Sullivan referenced that we are, like Dudley, we're the lowest per pupil expenditure of any school system in central Mass. Right above us are Douglas and Wachusett. So if this were to pass, we would jump. Let me rephrase that. It would be we would jump Wachusett and Quabog, and we would just still be slightly below Douglas. So we'd be third from the bottom if this passes. That's based on last year's numbers. I don't know what's going to happen in those towns, but. So we do reflect one another. We're both very underfunded, and we've been successful with it, but I feel like we're coming up on, it's the 9th inning, there's 2 outs, 2 strikes, and Mariano Rivera's on the mound, and it's, you know,
And
it's
his
time.
cutter's on, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, you know, Mr. Desto doesn't mention it all the time, he's also a stakeholder. He lives in the district, he has children in the district.
Yep.
He's no different than any elected official in the 2 towns.
Right, I mean, you know, all of us up here have a stake in that, right? We have
Yep.
kids, you know, I have a special needs daughter that's very important to me that, you know, she gets what she needs,
That's
right?
right.
It's hard, it's expensive, I know that, right? So, but, you know, rest assured, you know, we'll always do the right thing as far as long as I'm sitting here, and you guys too, I mean,
So you want to remind everybody one more time, because we don't meet before the vote?
one more time, Greg, you want to?
Sure. So just once again, for the folks in Dudley, I'm going to be available at Dudley Middle School from 6 to 8 this Thursday night. Now, in many settings, that's really not an attraction. Greg Dustin's going to be available, big deal. But if they have any last-minute questions, anything lingers, you know, if you want to go into that voting booth as informed as possible, I'll be there. And of course, the vote is April 3rd, a week from tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Dudley Town Hall and the Heritage School in Charlton.
Thank you, Greg.
This board unanimously urges everyone to support.
Everybody, you know, please, you know, get out, do your homework, learn more, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to us, just become informed and help out. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Desto while he's here? Okay, thank you, Greg. Thanks for
Thank you
coming.
very much,
as
gentlemen.
always.
And again, on behalf of the school committee, we really appreciate your support.
Thanks, as always.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks. Okay, is there anybody else here who would like to speak on something that's not on tonight's agenda? Okay, no? Move on. Greg, Town Administrator's report?
Sure. I think you touched upon it, Mr. Chairman. We have a meeting coming up with the State Auditor's Office on April 5th, and the key discussion item will be the education funding formula and how it affects Dudley and Charlton. So not only are we invited, but we've invited our colleagues from Charlton and the schools because we're partners in this together.
Mr. Chair, is that a larger conversation that we were discussing too? Is that gonna be a larger discussion about
Yes.
the tax split, not split tax, right?
Yes.
But the,
Yes, the state auditor's report had
Yeah.
a recommendation to consider a dual rate,
yeah,
so a separate rate for the schools. We're
okay.
hoping that we have that, but at least initially, we have that discussion and lay
Great.
on the table what we think is important. Phase one of our street lighting project is complete last week. That's the process needed to begin converting our streetlights to LED streetlights. I've submitted a warrant article for the annual town meeting, which I hope the board and town meeting will support to borrow money for the project. And we will utilize the savings to pay off the cost of the grant. So the payback period on the grant, the payback on the work is about 4.2 years. So we'll use those savings over a period of 5 years to pay back the bonds. And then thereafter, we will save considerable amount of money on our electricity. So phase one is done, which is the inventory of the street lighting. You may have seen people in and around town with New York plates and reflective vests, and what they were doing was inventorying all of our street light locations in town. And then I'll address the additional item that I have under item 9A in public business.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Yeah, this goes to show you, that's another one of those quality of life issues. You know, we're gonna have brighter streetlights that aren't blinking, they're not out, they're gonna be more reliable, and it's not really costing us much in the long run. It's just, you know, little things like that, right? Thank you, Greg, for pushing that. We don't have anything around town, no licenses and permits, we have no public hearings. So, Greg, 9A, public business.
9A is here. That was
It
quick.
is. Landfill solar lease.
So the board had tabled this matter from their last meeting, which means it comes up before you tonight. I'd given the board a copy of my recommendation, proposing the board award a 20-year lease to Amoresco Incorporated of Framingham, Massachusetts, to construct a privately owned solar generation array on the old landfill located off of Indian Road. You have a copy of their proposal, but for the public, they were the highest rated proposal and also offered the best financial package to the town. So it will be, they will be leasing land from the town. The town will not be buying power from them, but in return, what the town will be is receiving revenue that will go toward the town's general fund beginning fiscal year 2020, which is about 16 months from now. The total amount of payments to the town over 20 years is $3,240,000. And of that, $2.7 million is in lease payments. And then there's an additional $540,000 in payment in lieu of tax payments. So if you ask what the annual revenue to the town is, about $162,000 a year, which is pretty significant considering the landfill has done a really good job in growing grass. But this is an opportunity of making some money for the town. So the bidder did meet all of our requirements. They met the minimum evaluation criteria. People will ask what that is, and that's sign and submitting all the bid documents, attaching a bid bond, tax certification, and statement of non-collusion. And then they also rated highest in terms of our evaluation criteria, which are summarized in their proposal, which is experience, project team, ability to finance the project, and ability to stick to a project schedule, and I think they did a very good job of that, so happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Greg?
Mr. Chair, is there any way we can
Sullivan.
dedicate some of those funds? I know it has to go to the general fund, but is there any way we can, so-called new growth or new revenue to,
Well, it's like we did with some of the other stuff, you know, Mr. Joseph always said it, you know, to the capital improvement fund, and it was like a 60-40 type split. Well, we can decide to do that. I mean, think about it, we all talk about economic development. This is what we have, right? This is economic development. $162,000 a year that's real money, right?
I'd like to see if we come up with some kind of mechanism or formula.
I'd love to do that. Let's work on that. Okay. Anybody have any questions for Greg? So Greg, you need a vote on this from us?
I do. We want to issue a notice of award, and would ask that the board award, and then we'll have the lease back before you once it's been viewed by legal counsel. All the terms have been worked out. We'll get that lease back before you for a vote.
Perfect.
Mr. Chair, make a motion based on the town
Sullivan.
administrator's report and request that we grant the award of a landfill solar lease to Amerisco Energy, Inc., Amerigo Inc., I guess,
Amoresco.
of Speen Street, Framingham, Mass.
Second,
Motion by Mr. Sullivan, second by Mr. Ruda. Discussion?
just to thank the town administrator for his good work on this.
Oh, absolutely. Greg, thank
Yes.
you. This is, I mean, what else would we do to, again, bring in that kind of money without really, breaking the bank, so to speak? So, on a piece of land that isn't really doing anything. So
It's grown.
really a win-win, I think. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Again, for the public's perspective, this project takes about a year, so we won't be able, the project won't be up and running for about a year from now.
Okay, and when will it start? Approximately later than a year, or?
They have to go through some of their permitting, so what they
Oh.
have to do is they have to get in line for receiving approval from the Department of Energy Resources, and once that's done, then the project proceeds. But they're a very sound, fundamentally sound financial company, so I don't have any doubt that they'll be able to get this project pulled together pretty quick.
Mr. Chair, just want
Okay,
to
Steve.
emphasize what the administrator said in his report. We are not, the town is not going to directly benefit from the energy generated. So if people, that's probably going to be question number one. Hopefully they get the message in the articles that go out. This is strictly an economic win-win for the town.
Win, very big win. Great, thank you again, Greg.
Thank you.
Item 9B, cable access team is here, talking about a stipend increase. Mr. Barron, you want to come up, or anybody, or Greg, you want to let us know what it is?
Ted's in the audience, so I'll ask him to help fill in any of the blanks. So you have in the packet a proposal that Ted's put forth in terms of the cable stipend, and there are many more meetings that need to be covered, and there's some difficulty in providing people to cover it. And you can see his proposal here is that he recommends that going forward, beginning April 1st of 2018, that cable coordinator's stipend be increased to $80, the government access manager be $20 a week, and then the meetings and programs would be a varying rate depending upon how involved the coverage is. The maximum would be $120 for recording of meetings and programs out of town, and then the covering of standard meetings with the equipment in the room would be $60. Mr. Barrett, did I hit on all the high points?
Excuse
Did I hit on all your high points?
I think so.
I think so.
Mr. Chair, I don't see anything unreasonable with this, and I make a motion that we grant, unless someone has questions.
Is this going to be, Mr. Chairman, is this going to be placed on the, as in part of the article? Is an article on the warrant? Or is this how we, what's the mechanism of funding for this?
So that, Ted, correct me if I'm wrong, we receive a PEG access payment every year from Charter Communications, and that PEG access payment then goes to fund the entire cable TV operation, so it's separate from the town.
Is there a balance in that account?
Balance is $204,000.
We're gonna up your rent.
So this
All the
self-funds,
time.
so,
Yeah, so it's self-funds, and there's no cost to the town.
all right, then let's do it.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, good. We put you in front of the camera rather than behind it tonight, so, Teddy.
So, one
He
more
looks like
thing.
he's a fan.
One more thing, Mr. Wood, this doesn't, we're not going to outrun the money with this increase, right? I'm not sure how much it self-funds for.
Well, the great news is that PEG access payments come in annually,
Yeah,
so the amount is every year, and as we negotiate a new contract, we always do it with the understanding that we want to increase our local access payment to support programs that Mr. Barron and his department runs.
Perfect. Mrs. Sullivan, you want
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we grant the increases as requested, and I can read them into the record if you want, or we can just submit the document. $60 one person for recorded meeting and/or program in the town hall with meeting room equipment, $70 per person for recordings of meeting and/or programs in the town hall outside the meeting room, $100 per person for recording of meetings and/or programs outside the town hall, $120 per person for recording meetings and programs out of town with a mileage rate of 48.5 cents per mile.
to, as well as the other stipends at the top?
Oh, sorry, yeah, cable coordinator stipend, $80 per week. Government access manager stipend, $20 per week.
Okay, motion by Mr. Sullivan,
Second.
Second by Mr. Ruda. Discussion?
And again, Mr. Chair, just one quick comment, because some people do like to watch these meetings. These gentlemen certainly not getting rich at it, and they do it more out of a love of doing the job. And I can't just say enough. They're at the tree lighting ceremony, they go to the Grange with us,
Town meetings.
town meetings,
meetings.
yeah, and they're at the
Black
Grange,
Tavern.
Black
Black
Tavern.
Tavern.
I mean, they're there everywhere.
Parades outside.
Parades,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, and it's been 5 years since there was a last increase,
I think.
and Charter pays the bill, so,
Right.
right, it's a classic no-brainer.
yeah.
Terry?
Charter pays the bill, that's the key. Which is a good thing. I think going forward, though, well, actually, we're not going to have another meeting till after the override goes through. I was going to suggest that we hold off on anything dealing with the general fund until the override happens, but this doesn't, this is separate, so we're good.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Ted, anything to add? No? Brad, anything to add? Okay. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thanks, Ted.
Thanks, Ted and Fred.
Yeah, and Ted and Fred. All right.
Call on him once or twice, and that'll stop.
Item 10, Student Representative Jared, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. The Shepherd Hill boys varsity basketball team concluded their season on Wednesday, March 14th in the state semifinal against Taconic High School, falling 58-55. They finished their season 19-8. Congratulations to all on a truly remarkable season. Tryouts for spring sports at the Hill took place last week, and seasons will begin shortly, with varsity baseball facing Grafton on Monday, April 2nd, and varsity softball hosting Blackstone Valley Tech on Thursday, March 29th. The Shepherd Hill Show Choirs traveled to Andover, Mass. This weekend for the 2018 New England Show Choir Showdown. Both groups placed second in their divisions with awards for Best Choreography, Best Stage Crew, and Best Show Design. The choirs will conclude their competitive season on April 7th in Waltham at the Eastern Show Choir Festival. In the coming weeks at Shepherd Hill, ELA MCAS will be administered to all 10th grade students from Tuesday, March 27th through Thursday, March 29th. Third quarter grades close on Friday, March 30th. The National Honor Society induction will be held on Wednesday, April 4th. Shepherd Hill will host the DCRSD STEM Expo and Science and Engineering Fair on Thursday, April 5th in the cafeteria. The DCRSD Show Choir Festival will be held on Wednesday, April 11th. Reserved seating available now at shepherdhillchorus.com. Shameless plug. And finally, spring school vacation will take place from Monday, April 16th through Friday, April 20th.
Great, thank you, Jared. Anybody have anything for Jared?
Good thing I brought the college fair.
Yeah, good thing you did, because
We know you're all set.
it was last Thursday. I should have put that in. Like, it's,
Have you hit the cruise control yet?
I'm getting there.
coming? Yeah.
It's coming.
Will the seniors have to make up all their snow days?
Absolutely not.
How do you
No.
feel about that?
Pretty great.
How is that fair?
It's not, but I'm not complaining. So,
All right.
because I'm leaving. So.
So,
Somebody
Jared,
actually asked that. I was with near Mr. Desto when someone asked him that.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yeah, was you?
I want it
Oh,
on
forgot.
camera.
So, Jared, tell us again where you're going?
Well, I just heard back from American University today, and I got in. So
Great.
that was my number one. So I think I'm probably gonna end up going there. So
Where's that?
it's off to DC.
Yeah,
Yep.
Washington.
Wow, that's awesome, Jared.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
A nice
Awesome.
letter of recommendation from the chair goes a long way.
I've written a few of them. All right, thank you, Jared. Board member comments? Carrie, anything?
I think I'm good. Nice short
Jonathan?
meeting.
Mr.
Steven?
Chair pretty much said everything, just have the people come out and vote, and, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'd rather have, 5,000 people show up and not like the results and have 50 show up because nobody else cares, so
Amen.
I'll second
people get
that.
out and really get behind this and
Yep.
see what we can accomplish.
Have a little, some civic pride. Yep, I agree so. And I don't have anything else. Departments? Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. April 28th, that's a Saturday, from 9 to 1, we'll do our drug take-back again. We usually do those every 6 months, so that'll be this one this time around. So we're going to get some needle boxes also from Harrington to dispose of sharps, and we'll have the annual collection. So anybody has anything to bring down, they can do that. We also have the kiosk in the lobby, so if people can't make it that day or whatever, need to come in ahead of time, you can go there and get it. And also, too, I think, check the Board of Health. Some of the people ask about disposing of needles. So they have some things that are available for folks that, basically like a clip, where you can insert your needle in there, snip off the sharp. That way you can dispose of the plunger in the trash safely, and then that'll save your sharp disposals. So I believe Board of Health has a lot of those available for people for no charge, so it's a plus. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Steve, Dean?
Sure.
Anything at all? Danny? Nothing? Karen? Always good to have the library director here, the department head. What's happening?
Good evening.
Hi.
I would just like to invite everyone to our Easter egg hunt on Saturday at 10 o'clock. It will go from 10 to 11:30. The Easter Bunny will be there, so bring your cell phone cameras. Well, I mean, cell phones. And we've got a whole bunch of great programs coming up in April, so check our website calendar. They're all listed there. There's quite a bit of things going on for April, and some special programs for April vacation. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Karen. And I meant to mention earlier, there's a bin in the lobby downstairs in the vestibule for the middle school student is doing a clothes drive. So if anybody has any clothes they'd like to donate, please come in and do that. So department heads are done. I guess we're about done here. We're going to adjourn into executive session. Mr. Sullivan, you want to lead us into that?
Mr. Chair, make a motion, we adjourn into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, Subsection A, Subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, library trustee, and will not convene back into open session.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan, second by Mr. Ruda. Roll call vote.
Stephen P. Sullivan, aye.
John Ruda, aye.
John Marcy, aye.
Carrie Siganovich, aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Good night.
Be safe.